you can see this as a win-win situation for him. He either gets to show he is the man who would live up to his principles, or he gets liberated from being a party leader, which Kezia and I can say is a wonderful thing to happen to anybody in life.
Will Keir's beers end in tears?
Well, that's now in the hands of a police officer in Durham. I mean, it's an extraordinary thing. We've all painted ourselves into a corner sometimes who've been political leaders, but never has so much paint been dolloped around such a small corner as Keir Starmer has done in the last few months in calling on Boris Johnson to resign for being investigated originally, not for having a fine, and Rishi Sunak to resign for having one fine at an event that was nobody thinks was his fault. So now he's set such a high standard, he's had no choice but to say that he would resign. Now, you can see this as a win-win situation for him. He either gets to show he is the man who would live up to his principles, or he gets liberated from being a party leader, which Kezia and I can say is a wonderful thing to happen to anybody in life. But it's an extraordinary situation to have got into. And I think he had no alternative but to say what he said yesterday.
William, do you think they're the same thing? What Boris Johnson was fined for and Rishi Sunak, and what Keir Starmer may be fined for?
Well, they look very much like, yeah, they are about the same law. It's an investigation into breaking the same law, allegedly, and with the same sort of fine. They are closely parallel cases. Now, of course, people in the Labour Party can say, well, no, Boris Johnson's also being investigated for misleading Parliament by the Privileges Committee, which actually is, in my view, that would be a much more serious thing. But on the fines, it's really the same situation for the same offence, at least, that is now being investigated.
But if Boris Johnson gets, I don't know what we're up to now, 4 or 5 FPNs, does that make it different or not?
Well, that's a matter of judgment, isn't it? And I think this is my main point. It is a matter of judgment. I don't think really, I can't persuade myself that in all circumstances, a senior public figure must resign if they receive a fixed penalty notice. It really does depend on the circumstances. And so I think, therefore, Keir Starmer has gone too far in painting himself into this corner. But he did it. He can't help it. He now has to make a virtue of it. And that's otherwise he couldn't possibly have gone on for the next 2 months waiting to hear about this with everybody asking him all the time if he would resign. Yes. So he just had to say this. But the whole fortunes of a great political party could be changed by their leader and deputy leader having to resign when they didn't have to put themselves in that situation.
Okay.